Hello? Hello? Is Vince in the back? I don't know. Vince, are you there? Vincent! Vince! All right, guys, let's see. Is the guy back there? I don't know. Let me see. What are people saying in the chat? I'm curious. Let me go to Vince's stream. Let's see if people think he's over there. Let's see. What do people think? Vince's chat. Put a 1. Put a 1 in there if you think he's there. All 10 of you watching on Vince's side, put a 1. Is Vince back there? Is he not back there? Oh, Uncle Curtis with the $10. My side, Matt Money's side. Is Vince back there? Put a 1. Oh, we got people voting for Vince is here. Vince is here. We got Curtis with a $10 super chat before I even started stripping on stream. Oh wow, I have like my mic down and everything. That was work mat mode. My mic was down. All right, let's see. Is he here? Oh!
Hello, everyone.
What's going on, man? How are things?
Yeah, good. Did you hear me the whole time? I'm like, you're like, is Vince here? And I'm like, yes, I'm here. Let me in on this.
Oh no! I wish I had that. That would have been classic. Oh. Next time, if I do something like that, I'll have to add you and then do cinnamon again, because you can do cinnamon, like I can hear you now, right? Because it's just a mode. Yeah, so everyone can hear you. So that's what I did. I like added myself and then I went into cinema mode so I could chat. I should have done that. Dang, lost opportunity.
Yeah, no problem. Next time. By the way, I just want to shout out to Bunker Buster, and he became a member on both of our channels, and that's amazing.
Yeah, that's absolutely phenomenal. Much appreciated, man. And then Curtis already gave me $10, and then Fool's Gold gave me $20. It's like a showdown between Curtis and Fool's Gold over here. So they're out of control, man. I had a good time, even though you left me crying and alone.
You know, it's so confusing. I thought that this launch was tomorrow, like right after Rocket Lab Weekly, because like it's the New Zealand time is super confusing. And I swear I saw your tweet message, and I thought that launch was like the next day. So when you're like, Vince, you missed it. I was like, missed what? And then I was looking. I'm like, shit.
Like, this guy's crazy, isn't it? Well, I am crazy. So I mean, I get it. I do get it.
But by the way, is there something wrong with my mic? I did like a video, like on my last video, I got like a comment by someone who's like, dude, you have to fix your mic. And it got like 10 likes and people commenting like, yeah, it's like Matt is so much louder than Vince. And I was doing tests like here to see if I can influence my mic, but it was good on my side. And yeah.
I mean, I have been screaming more into the mic lately, so it might be me. It might be me.
Okay. But you guys,
I think it's the enthusiasm, maybe too much Celsius, although I haven't had a Celsius in a couple days, but yeah. But how are things, man? You seem like you're busy.
I'm busy. I think generally it's doing good. I'm starting to sweat on my Rocket Lab call options that I sold on $8.
Oh man!
Beginning of January. When I sold them, it was like it's 60% away, and then you blink twice, and it's like, oh my god. But yeah, whatever. I'll figure it out somehow. I'm keeping the stocks.
There it is, man. 20. You guys are out of control today. Out of control. I love it. Love that. Much appreciated, man. You guys are too kind. Way too kind. I'm just excited. Hopefully, we have a better result this time around than we did. I think the real reason, I don't want to jinx it, I think it's because you.
I didn't show up.
Yeah.
It happened once before. Like Peter Beck tweeted that we're going to have launch, and then I wrote on him that It's like, I will not be able to live stream. It's in a really bad time, and then they canceled. So they listen, they watch us, they care. So it's yeah.
That's you.
Yeah,
You were the good luck charm. I don't know. The stock's only been going up since you've been involved, so maybe it's you, man. Maybe we need to do it. Same thing with Palantir, right? I mean,
no. Okay, the story is both stocks fell like 50%, pretty much right after I bought, and then they went up. But it feels like that's my pattern. I buy and then it like dips 50%. I age like 5 years. I regret my life decisions, but never sell, and then they go up.
Oh man, dude, some people are interesting. Just the Airbnb.
You're getting Airbnb messages. Okay. Yeah, man, it's not been an easy hold for me to hold Rocket Lab because I sold put options and I got assigned on them, which put my account at margin, and many times I was like on my lasts, I was like cents away from being margin called. But I just never wanted to sell my shares. It's a sickness, and now it's pretty good. Like the account went so much up that I think probably my margin now is like, I don't know, less than 30% on the account. And
there you go.
And I'm looking at ways how to fully get rid of the margin.
There's a way called you sell some of the shares, but I know you don't want to do that.
Don't swear, Matt. We talked about this. We
came to an agreement. I don't know. These guys keep going off on these super chats. You'll have this, the margin paid off in a minute, and then you own it outright. You won't have to give any back to the bank.
They're fixing YouTube's earnings first. Google's.
What is this? Ribs and beers at Lambert's. What's Lambert's?
It must be a nice restaurant.
Yeah, it might be some fancy I need to get involved in.
Yeah. By the way, Kurt is also he's like, he came in on my channel and also gave me a super chat. Like, how do you call it? I don't know if you see that one.
Which one?
And no, like, do you see if I get
yeah.
So Curtis like went on your channel, it gave you $10 or $20, and then he said like share with Vince, and then he came on mine and then gave me the same, and then said like share with Matt.
They're too fancy, man. It's going off today. I don't know if it's a battle royale or everyone's just fired up about Rocket Lab and Palantir, and the market is doing really well. I'm honestly surprised. I was talking to Chris about it yesterday, and honestly, I thought with a 50 basis point hike, people were like, man, they really feel like they have to cut. And so then they would, let's make sure I'm not sharing. Okay, I'm not sharing that screen. That's good. Don't want people to see all my information screenshotted and like, Matt's a lying piece of crap. He has more than he tells us. I'm kind of surprised, man. I thought you would see a lot more turmoil in the markets over the past 2 days, and really seen only nothing but good things,
But is it just me? Like my spider sense is going on. Like when the market is just going up, are these guys like going between?
They're out of control. I don't know if they're in a battle royale. There can only be like the Highlander. There can only be one. Like I don't know what's going on.
Matt, we need to do these live streams when Rocket Lab is like 7% up on a day, and then these guys are feeling amazing.
Yeah, exactly. I just gotta go home like from work and like I have a sickness. Ooh, we got action, people. Sorry. That's my live stream. Where do I have it? There it is. Is it loud enough? Too loud?
I think it. No, it's good.
The intro music always gets me really fired up. So it's. Tony says the same thing. It fires me up, dude. I guess as I've just come used to it being synonymous for launching.
Good morning and happy Saturday from Mahia, New Zealand, where our Electron rocket is ready on the pad at Rocket Lab's Launch Complex 1 as we count down
Man, we're already down to 13?
11:01 a.m. local time liftoff for today's mission. On board Electron today is our return customer Kinéis as we prepare to launch the second of multiple launches for them to deploy their Internet of Things constellation to space. My name is Prachi Saknani, and with me is Andrew Haig, and together we are live from Mission Control Center in Auckland, New Zealand for our 53rd Electron launch.
Prachi!
Thanks, Prachi. It's great to be back on the pad with Electron again so quickly after we stood down from our launch attempt earlier this week. Now, a ground system sensor triggered Electron's flight computer to safely halt the mission right on T0 for that last attempt. But with Electron, the launch pad, and Kinéis' payload all healthy and ready for another launch attempt, we're back on the pad and ready to try again today with greens across the board so far for our pre-launch operations.
Coming up shortly will be the go, no-go poll run by our launch director to check with each of the operators that their system is prepared and ready to continue the countdown to liftoff. We have operators, as you can see, in our range control center and in our mission control center on your screen. The go, no-go poll is scheduled to start at T-minus 12 minutes, so only with a few seconds left on the clock. Let's listen in to the audio channels for the update.
Strip cheeses start at $5. Every $5, I will take a piece of clothing off. $10 to put it back on. What's 20? You got to ask. You can't afford it.
All stations LD on mission. Proceeding with the go, no-go sequence. Stage.
Stage is go.
Avionics.
Avionics is go.
GNC.
GNC is go.
VCon.
VCon is go.
T1.
T1 is go.
GC.
GC is go.
PLS.
PLS is go.
RSO.
RSO is go.
MET.
MET is go.
MM.
MM is go.
And LDSUP.
LDSUP is go.
What's left and what's right?
Okay,
Is
the
the right
go sequence is complete.
Denver?
We are T-minus 11 minutes, 19 seconds, and counting. We are go for terminal count auto sequence at T-minus 10 minutes.
Yeah, right has to
From
be
this
Denver.
time, the three-word hold procedure is in effect.
Did he say hold?
They said 3-word is in effect. So it's anybody can, if they see something on their screen, can.
So good news there from today's launch operators. We're cleared to move forward with the final pre-launch operations. Today's mission requires an instantaneous launch for the satellites in order for them to be in the correct orbital parameters for the constellation they're joining. And that T0 is set for 23:01 UTC, which is 11:01 a.m. local time for today's liftoff.
In just 10 minutes and 35 seconds, Electron will be sending the Kinéis killed the RadIOT Star mission to low Earth orbit for Kinéis, an international space-based solutions provider to improve global Internet of Things connectivity. This is our 53rd Electron launch overall, but our second for Kinéis this year, just 3 months after we launched them for the first time from Launch Complex 1. That mission launched our 50th Electron rocket, with the first 5 satellites of their new IoT constellation successfully deployed to their new home at 635 kilometers above Earth, just 66 minutes after liftoff.
I'll be launching 5 missions overall with 5 satellites on board each time. And each launch is tailored specifically to Kinéis' mission requirements. That includes instantaneous launch windows, like for today's mission, but also a precise payload deployment, first with a single satellite and then in pairs to build out the constellation exactly as Kinéis needs it. Now let's hear more from the team at Kinéis.
Kinéis is a French company based in Toulouse. We are a satellite operator and a global connectivity provider dedicated to the Internet of Things. Mountains, oceans, deserts. 85% of our planet has no network coverage. In 2020, we raised a large amount of 100 million euros to address this global issue. Today, we are following through and will deploy a constellation of 25 nanosatellites that will enable us to connect to a multitude of objects anywhere on the planet in near real time. We are convinced that this transmission of information made possible by satellite connectivity will enable us to respond to crucial challenges for mankind, its activities, and its environment. On the environmental front, for example, Kinéis connectivity can detect a fire outbreak in less than 15 minutes, thus considerably reducing the extent of the outbreak and reducing the loss of property and human life. The same goes for monitoring water levels to prevent flooding and use this dwindling resource. The applications are endless, whether for locating, monitoring, or alerting. Since the creation of Kinéis in 2018, our teams have been working with this objective in mind. Our 25 nanosatellites that weigh only 28 kilograms are real technological gems. The retractable UHF antenna, for example, can hear a bird sing within a rock concert 650 kilometers from the Earth.
I'm fired up.
Them with thrusters to ensure they stay on track for their mission. Some even carry children's drawings. That's amazing. At the same time, we have deployed many ground stations worldwide and have a sovereign infrastructure to guarantee data transmission to our clients. Today, Rocket Lab is preparing to launch a new cluster of 5 satellites, marking yet another significant step forward in our mission. With 5 satellites already in orbit at 650 kilometers, each launch reinforces our ability to connect with the rest of the world and address the challenges essential for people, their activities, and their environment. We can't wait to take this next step.
I'm fired up.
I must say, wow, a French company.
It is great to be counting down to another Kinéis launch. After today's mission...
What are you saying?
No, there's not a lot of startups in Europe, right? And I was like, wow, they got funding and they seem to be doing well. So interesting.
Yeah.
Speaking of Electrons,
100%.
with just 7 minutes left on the countdown clock, it's time to take you through a closer look at the rocket and mission profile for launch. Now, today's Electron rocket is our standard platform orbital launch vehicle capable of lifting up to 320 kilograms of payload to space. Electron stands at 18 meters or 59 feet tall and is primarily made with a carbon composite material, which is why our rocket looks black when it's not fueled. Now, Electron is the world's first carbon composite orbital rocket powered by the world's first 3D printed battery-powered rocket engines to make it to space. 9 of these Rutherford engines are located at the bottom of the rocket's first stage, and a single Rutherford engine with an expanded nozzle is used on the second stage. Now, all of the Rutherford engines across the rocket use batteries to power their turbopumps, and Electron performs a unique launch maneuver called a battery hot swap that happens part-way through the mission to replace the second stage engines' used-up batteries for new ones. Now, across the first and second stage, the engines use a propellant mix of kerosene and liquid oxygen, and it's that second propellant's super cold temperatures that make the outside of Electron look white, because that's where condensation has turned to ice. Now, without the propellants, Electron weighs in at just over 1,000 kilograms, but when the rocket is fully fueled, Electron weighs 13,000 kilograms.
At the top of the rocket within its fairing is where you'll find today's payloads of 5 satellites for Kinéis.
Oh, wow.
As you can see, they're attached
New graphics, my guys.
Platform from which they'll be deployed once they reach their destination. So, for today's mission, we are headed on a 643-kilometer orbit on a second trajectory from Launch Complex 1. 2 seconds before T0, Electron's 9 Rutherford engines will ignite for liftoff, and the pad's hold-down mechanisms will be released, allowing Electron to travel upward for a short while before curving its path to continue its climb, but more horizontally. The rocket speed will continue to increase until it reaches max Q, or maximum aerodynamic pressure, just under 2 minutes from liftoff. Once it clears that first milestone, the next step in Electron's journey will be MECO. This main engine cutoff is when the first stage from the rocket shuts down and separates from the second before the single Rutherford engine on stage 2 lights up to continue the mission to orbit. We'll have a repeat of that separation for stage 2 and the kick stage about 7 minutes later, and the kick stage will finish the mission by delivering Kinéis satellites to orbit. Once that's done, we'll also have the kick stage perform a perigee lowering burn that will help reduce these stages' orbital lifetime as part of our effort to keep space sustainable.
All right, so there's just 4 minutes, 20 seconds remaining in the count to liftoff for Kinéis killed the RadIOT star. At T-minus 2 minutes, Electron's flight computer will take over the countdown and autonomously run through its final operations. A liquid oxygen will continue to flow into Electron all the way up to T-minus 1 minute and 30 seconds.
That's right. And after that, we'll hear confirmation that Electron's first and second stages are fully pressurized and ready for launch. And then it's over to our launch director, Michael Pearson, for the iconic 10-second countdown. For now, let's send it to Mission Control so they can send it to space, and we'll check back in with you after liftoff.
This is exciting for anybody that is watching on the Matt Money stream. We have about 73 of you. Please be sure to go and subscribe to Vince's channel. Vince is always a kind friend, allows me to join Rocket Lab weekly on his channel. And for those of you that are watching on Vince's, please be sure to subscribe to my channel. Always try our best to present as much material as we can. And for those of you on my channel that have never seen Vince or watched any of his content before, he does a lot more Rocket Lab content than I do. He puts out a couple videos per week. So he's much better at content creation. I just talk about God knows what on live streams. But anyway, was there anything about what happened last time? Yeah, so let me pull that up really quick with respect to
all stations LD on mission.
What
now,
happened.
there should be no red flags on your
I'm Vince, and I approve this message.
Beacon
No,
LD
I'm
mission.
kidding. Political season.
Please lock auto sequence and confirm.
Auto sequence locked.
Confirm all expected primary flight computer ASGOs are green.
As far as I understand, it was a ground sensor last time that was showing something was
Okay,
not
we are
optimal.
go for auto
So
sequence start at T-2 minutes. LD is go for launch.
Yeah, so I don't want to share screen because I don't want to take away from the launch. But what I'll read is Peter Beck, at Peter J. Beck. He wrote this September 18, 2024 at 6:51 p.m. So this was a couple hours after they investigated everything that happened. Just an abort triggered by a piece of ground support equipment not reaching its target in the allocated time. We like everything to be on the ground just to be we like everything on the ground to be just as happy as everything that's in the sky. So yeah, ground sensor, like Chris or Vince alluded to.
The vehicle was fully on internal power.
this is not Crash Mechanicals, my guy.
Flight.
I know.
And by the way, this is a strength for Rocket Lab that they have their own launch pad and they can be extra careful and just delay the launch. And
Dude, 2 days later? Crazy. Like, that's unheard of. To just be like, yep, 2 days. It's insane.
Yeah,
I was
if this
expecting
was
a couple weeks.
yeah, and if this was at Cape
Warp source
Canaveral,
complete. System is in
where
recirculation.
there's other people waiting in line, you don't have this luxury to be so careful with your launch.
Right.
You have like 100 SpaceX Falcon 9s waiting on you to launch from the pad.
Right. All right, T-minus 1 minute and 10 seconds. Exciting times. Send a friend, family, anybody that you know that likes rocket launches. Doesn't have to be a Rocket Lab specific, but just anybody that likes
Anti-gravity
rocket
is
launches.
disabled.
Yeah. Lucas Zaretsky wrote, wow, I didn't know it could be pretty stressful watching the live. You are
can be.
stressed, my guy. Wait until Miko when the
Stage
second
1 and
engine.
stage 2 tanks are pressed for flight.
That for me
Flow
is the
engine
hard.
mode enabled.
Yeah, try having $100,000 on it, and then some people in the chat, they have $1 million on it. So it's almost like we're watching the Super Bowl here.
Yeah.
People gambling. All right, just under 30 seconds. I'm a little nervous. Let's
20
go.
seconds and counting.
Ten seconds.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Liftoff.
I was like, where's the rocket?
I said the same thing.
Getting the channel.
Looks windy. It's kind of moving sideways a little bit. Looks windy.
You know what it looks? It looks nominal. That's what it looks like.
There it is. Right words. I'm scaring people.
Stage 1 propulsion nominal.
There it is.
T plus 35 seconds and counting, and we are well on our way to space. Our 53rd Electron rocket has taken flight, and it's headed to orbit with its payloads for Kinéis. Up next, you'll hear the call for max Q, or maximum aerodynamic pressure. the point in flight where Electron
I'm
experiences
fired up,
peak
boys.
structural
Ladies and
load.
gentlemen.
The GNC operator on console will give us the call that max Q is approaching, and then we'll hear for confirmation that we have passed through that gate.
Looks like we're opening up down on Monday, boys, ladies and gentlemen.
What happened? Oh, yeah, okay.
A
Sorry,
successful
sorry.
launch. We're always open now.
Yeah.
Cleared max Q.
Jeff Parsley sold 750 calls. That's brave.
And there you have it. Confirmation Electron has passed through max Q. We are now at 19 kilometers altitude and traveling over 2,700 kilometers an hour. And next up, we have 3 key events: main engine cutoff, or MECO, stage separation, and stage 2 engine ignition. MECO is when all 9 Rutherford engines shut down to prepare for the next phase in flight. And after those engines shut down, Electron's first and second stages separate. Then finally, the vacuum-optimized Rutherford engine on Electron's second stage ignites to propel the mission through to an elliptical transfer orbit. Those 3 events all take place in a quick succession over just a few seconds. So let's listen in for those calls.
Yeah, I remember seeing that view live from right above New Zealand before. That was beautiful.
That was beautiful, yeah.
15 seconds to staging. And
this is the scariest part for me. There's another guy who shorted at 750. Wow.
MECO confirmed. Stage separation confirmed.
Let's go, boys.
Stage 2 ignition confirmed.
And Junebug and Melanie.
Boom.
We are now T plus 2 minutes and 45 seconds into the mission, and as you've just heard, Electron has had a successful MECO, stage SEP, and second stage ignition.
Stage 2 guidance.
Telemetry data shows that Electron is now moving at over 8,200 kilometers per hour and has just passed 100 kilometers above Earth. Up next is fairing jettison, when Electron's nose cone, which is protecting our payloads today, will split in 2 and fall away. We might see this happen on screen, so let's keep an eye out for that.
I actually just had an idea.
Fairing jettison succeeded.
Oh,
and
wow.
that was a call out for fairing jettison from mission control, exposing the payload to space ahead of deployment.
Stage 2
Electron is traveling at over 8,500 kilometers an hour at an altitude of 125 kilometers, with just a few minutes remaining in the second stage burn.
All this money that we're getting from super chats because of Curtis and Dimitri's and Fool's Gold's kind hearts on launch days or the days before launches, I'm probably should buy puts or something like that. So then when it opens up the next day, I can sell the puts and then buy more shares, because we always know the stock always like, I feel like it's for the 20 or so launches that I've watched.
If you take a look at the graph on the right-hand side of your screen, then you can see Electron's current trajectory compared with our expected trajectory. And we like those 2 lines to be as close as possible, and that's what helps Electron's precise payload insertion accuracy.
They're stepping it up.
Yeah.
But I've seen maybe like 1 or 2. So I'm talking like 90% to 95% accuracy of the stock going down the next day.
Yeah, I saw a guy tweeting today. He's like, Rocket Lab is doing so well, and they're having a launch, and they will be up so much on Monday. And I was like, you must be new to Rocket Lab.
It's like that Willy Wonka. It's like, you must be new here. Oh, God. One day.
Some of you may be wondering how IoT satellites impact your daily lives. These satellites connect devices globally, even in areas without regular internet. In day-to-day life, this means you can track deliveries worldwide and carry out credit card transactions, even if you're stranded in the middle of the South Island of New Zealand. They also support things like your smart home assistant or fitness watch, allowing them to stay connected anywhere for real-time updates or alerts.
That's pretty cool, actually. I didn't think about
that. Why do I doubt that your Amazon Alexa is connected via IoT devices? Because I know that when you the credit card transactions.
One of the things that sets Electron apart from many other rocket designs is the use of electric pumps in the Rutherford engines. And those pumps are powered by batteries, which deplete in power throughout the flight. Use up all the available energy in one set, we'll switch to a fresh battery to complete the mission all the way through to orbit. And that maneuver is referred to as the battery hot swap. After the first set is depleted, Electron won't need those batteries for the remainder of the journey, so we jettison the depleted batteries to save mass in the final stages of flight. That's coming up soon, so keep an eye on your screen and see if you can see the shiny silver batteries eject and fall away.
Discharge. Nominal. Approaching hot swap.
I wonder if Rocket Lab provided the solar panels for these satellites.
Throttling down.
Is there a way to check?
I don't know. That's one thing I would like have yet to been able to do is like see all the subcontractors for
Battery
all the.
jettison confirmed.
And that was the call for battery hot swap on the second stage, confirmed as successful by mission
Hot swap
control across
successful.
the nets. Up next is the final stage of stage 2 flight, including SECO or second engine cutoff, followed by kick stage separation. This is where the kick stage, carrying the 5 Kinéis satellites, separates from Electron's second stage. That final engine cutoff is coming up just shy of 9 minutes,
Whoa!
so only about 3.5 minutes to go.
It looks like this is a super chat to Curtis. I don't know what's happening. Now that
Yeah,
people are
how do we
getting-
share with Curtis? How do we share the money with Curtis? Help! Thank you, Sam. I didn't
Now,
say
electric
thank you.
pumps on Rutherford offer other advantages other than just a simplification of design. Now, these groundbreaking pumps can run the tanks all the way dry, allowing the second stage to squeeze every last bit of performance out of it during flight. And those pumps on Electron's second stage are currently powering us at speeds of over 19,000 kilometers an hour.
Jeez, it's so crazy.
Team watching from Flight 50 will remember some fun flips and rotations the kick stage performed during payload deployment for the last Kinéis mission. The kick stage's reaction control thrusters achieved this by expelling precise amounts of cold pressurized gas through small thrusters to rotate the
Oh,
kick stage
$5.
and control its orientation and position in space. It's this system that's responsible for our industry-leading deployment precision.
I'll start slow. $5 per button. How about that? I shouldn't change the rules. This is the only thing. I'm only wearing 2 things. So I'm wearing a shirt and boxers. So
That's so funny. Me too. I didn't want to say that in the. It's very late. It's very late. I took my daughter to sleep, and I
It's
actually
now
fell
T
asleep
plus
with her.
8 minutes,
in-
18 seconds, and we're fast approaching second engine cutoff. And just before that happens, the Rutherford engine will begin to throttle down in preparation for shutdown, which is scheduled to take place around 9 minutes into the mission. So let's listen in and wait for that confirmation.
I know. I'm just thinking that too. Like they got rid of the fairing, and then they're traveling over 20,000 kilometers an hour. It's like, what? Just goes to show
Yeah,
you, like the
10
lack of
times-
resistance you have in space.
Yeah, it's 10 times the speed of bullet. It's crazy.
Oh.
Oh my! That's what is it? 4 buttons right there.
It might be the
Sequel
it
confirmed.
might be the buttons and the boxers. Thank you,
Or a button
Francisco.
on the boxer.
Well, I'm glad the rocket went off.
Great news there from Mission Control. The second stage engine has shut down and the kick stage has separated and is about to enter a coast phase for around 45 minutes. At the end of that coast, the Curie engine on the kick stage will ignite 2 times to complete some final positioning maneuvers. The first will circularize our orbit to 643 kilometers, and the second will slightly lower our perigee at the customer's request.
Now, around a minute after the completion of that final burn, the Kinéis satellites will be deployed in sequence. First, a single satellite will be deployed off the top of the kick stage, followed by the remaining 4 satellites deployed in pairs from opposing sides. Now, payload deployment is scheduled to take place just 55 minutes from now, so we're going to take a short break while the kick stage coasts around to the opposite side of the planet. We'll see you back here soon.
All right, I have to mute it, otherwise they demonetize us. You guys rock. I don't know how else to say it. You guys are phenomenal. I'm really happy to be here. It's always a great community that we're building here. Wow, can't say anything less than that. Vince, I don't know how much time you have, my man. It sounds like they're going to be hanging out 45 minutes to an hour from now until payload deployment. I'm more than happy to kick around some talks, but I think you're probably going to call it before then, right?
No, I was just gonna say. So, like, I accidentally fell asleep with my 1-year-old daughter, and I told my wife, like, if that happens, please make sure you wake me up for it, because it's like 1 o'clock in the evening. So I'm I'm
fired
quite
up.
I'm quite well slept, you know. And if I go to sleep after this, it's still enough sleep with the two. Yeah, so I can stay. We can small talk.
Okay, very good. Well, I just have to inform you, unfortunately, I'll be in a plane about 45 minutes to an hour before Rocket Lab Weekly tomorrow. So unfortunately, I won't be able to be there. Yeah.
All right.
Unless I can somehow figure out and I don't get kicked out of business class for chatting up a storm, but I don't know how I can live stream from the plane.
Do they have Starlink?
Good point. Good point. I don't know. Good question.
Ooh, that would be such a. Thank you so much, Fool's Gold. that would be so sick if we could do a Rocket Lab Weekly with you flying on the airplane.
That would be. It'd even be better when I get the private jet to do it off of that. But unfortunately, I don't think I have enough shares as of yet to be able to do it from the private jet. So we'll have to.
So you didn't get the super chat, and now you're buttoning up. Is that your protest?
Hey, that's 2 buttons. I said $10 per thing to put it back on. So one jet, exactly. We don't care about the Lambo anymore. If we wanted to buy the Lambo, we could buy the Lambo. We're all about the jet these days. One jet. So I could be like, "Wait, Vince, when am I coming to visit you?" And then I can just get on the jet. No problems. No questions asked.
Exactly. But you're not visiting this time?
I am. I don't know. I decided I might check again tonight to see, because I booked a refundable flight just in case something happened. So I might see what I can do to move my return flight. But as of right now, I'm leaving Friday next week, so I will only be there for about 6 or so days, 7 days. So, what's that? I'll keep going. Okay.
But do you mean like keep going, like buttoning up?
I think he means keep buttoning up. I think he wants me to go get a sweatshirt. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, I don't know. I've thought about also. I shouldn't be talking about this live, but I've been thinking about potentially going to like Greece or something like that to get a little bit of like relaxation. Because I did that in Mexico, but I don't know. I'm trying to see somewhere different. Like I like Mexico, but I have no problems with Mexico, and I really shouldn't go do something else because my credit card bills have been out of control, and I need to get that back in.
Dude, have you seen the stock price of Rocket Lab and Palantir? You're good.
Yeah, but I don't touch that money, so it's like I still have to,
It's called the wealth effect.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. Jeff, thank you. Fool's Gold, thank you. You guys are out of control. Much appreciated. Taking the opportunity as well, the 93 of you watching on my channel, please go to the description. Follow Vince if you haven't already. He'll be doing Rocket Lab Weekly tomorrow. Unfortunately, I won't be there. So please. Yeah, I could be like Vince and draw for margin. So margin helps sometimes, man. I might actually start doing it because I've been looking at something where basically margin is simple interest, right? Versus like amortized interest that you have from like mortgages and stuff like that. So it actually sometimes might make sense to, for example, pay let's say a couple months mortgages in advance through your margin account because it's simple interest. And so you could pay it back and you're not paying, like you're paying yourself at that point. Versus if you were to just continue to pay your mortgage, a lot of that money goes to interest, if that makes sense. So what you're doing is you might be paying ahead of time and you might be having like a balance. But generally speaking, if you over time are paying extra into that margin account, it ends up being better. So what I was doing originally was paying like a couple $100 extra from my paychecks directly too. So now what I started to do is pay, instead of paying $300 every month, what I've done or started to do is pay like $1,000 or $2,000, and then after it gets paid back in the brokerage account, then I would pay another $1,000 or $2,000 straight to the mortgage. It actually would help shrink your mortgage much faster, because you think about it, when you pay that $1,000, you're paying principal, and instead of saying only paying $300 that one time, you're paying $1,000, $2,000, and so immediately the next mortgage is basically paying more into the principal. So it starts to shave off, a couple months here, a couple months there, if you do that way. And all the while you're saving money, because otherwise, you'd be paying amortized interest rather than the simple interest. So just some food for thought for anybody that's interested in shaving off a couple months of a mortgage. Big events, man.
And,
getting a little bit
you guys are amazing. Like, they're going in between the channels and like super chatting you and super chatting me.
They're insane.
Crazy.
Yeah, they're great.
Crazy.
They're the best.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Much appreciated.
Don't leave us. Yeah, Crazy Rocket Lab shareholders, they're insane, man. It crashed. What is this? Chipping in to cover the seed upgrade? Yeah, for the Starlink.
But seriously, if you have internet, do you want to try to be on, or like?
No, I don't want to be. As much as I would love to, I wouldn't. I don't want to be rude.
No problem.
Yeah,
no problem.
trying to for other people, because it's going to be. Some people might immediately try to go to sleep because they try to. Some people try to do, because it's like 3:30 or 4 p.m. tomorrow, so people might be up for an hour, but then they'll probably try to go to sleep because of by the time we get to the UK, it'll be 6 a.m., 7 a.m., something like that. So,
yeah. So Friday, you said, like, if you would go to, because like Greece is very, like, I mean, if you're coming back to Europe, like, do you know if you're coming back again after this?
I thought it'd be a more frequent thing, but we're going to go through some cost cutting at the company, so maybe not. We'll see. I got approved for this time, but we'll see what happens next time. My hope is yes.
Because how do you call it? Like, if you like, I mean, because like Greece is beautiful, but maybe it's not the best timing to go to Greece at this time.
Yeah.
But it's still. I actually don't know if. I think you can still like bathe, like swim in the sea, and it's still like should be okay still.
You think so? I don't know how quickly Greece gets cold.
Because, for example,
Alexa, stop. Blue Origin's trying to steal ideas.
Peter Beck tweeted perfect transfer orbit, so I think we're looking good so far.
Looking good so
what
far.
was I going to say? So I think from your undisclosed European country to fly to or Copenhagen would be the closest if you come and visit. I think it would be like $100 for the ticket.
What? Okay.
And Greece, I think it would be, I don't know,
probably more.
A bit more, like probably $200-300. But it should also be pretty cheap, because there's not like it's starting to be off season, so not a lot of people are like traveling there. Anyways, if you change your mind, I'm happy to host you.
Punta Cana's a good time. I might have to go to the DR sometime soon. But yeah, I appreciate that. I thought about that when I was booking. I was like, do I want to come home on Sunday or Monday and take a day off and potentially go somewhere? And I was like, I don't know at the time, and I still feel this way. I was like, I feel kind of lazy, and part of me is just like, I should have just come home. But I might get the urge when I land Sunday, which I guess is tomorrow for me. After the flight, I might be like, you know what? Maybe I do want to stay, and who knows? So they encourage me to, like, as long as I'm not incurring more charges. So as long as like I stay a few more days and pay for my own hotel, like if I'm taking vacation, if I pay for my own hotel, they're like, yeah, like as long as the flight isn't more expensive, right? If the flight's the same price Friday versus Monday, they're like, yeah, take the time. And like, we're not, obviously don't pay for the flight to wherever you want to go. Like if I want to go to Greece, I'm not going to put that on the company. I'm going to put it on myself. But yeah, like but anyway, I was just like, I was like, do I want to stay the weekend? I don't necessarily know. I was like, or do I want to fly home on a Friday during business hours? And I was like, I'll fly home Friday. So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, up to you. I just realized also that the weekend is a bit tough for me to host because of the kids. You know, they have so much programs on the. Yeah, you know, it's. I hope you also get kids soon. But
we'll see. Anybody want to apply? Feel free to message me.
Is it? Does it have to be a specific gender? No, I'm kidding.
Hopefully a specific gender.
You're like anybody. It's like we have 98% men here.
I do want children, so let's just be clear. Yeah, no offense.
It's 2024. Are you going to be the one pregnant? No, I'm kidding.
Hey man, I think if you've seen a picture of me, I already look pregnant, so you're good to go. I mean, so yeah, I've been feeding for two for quite some time. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I'm curious, man. Like, I just always think back. Like, I was having lunch with a buddy, and he got into Rocket Lab. And I asked him again today. We had hot pot. For anybody that knows what hot pot is, basically get like a bunch of like thinly sliced ribeye and like meats and stuff like that, and you put it in the hot pot, and it's like miso soup and like spicy miso, like all that stuff that they make in Southeast Asia, and you kind of just let the meat cook itself and everything. And I was chit chatting with him, and I was like, "Hey man," I was like, "You're up 60%." I'm like, what's the deal? And he was like, I'm holding it for the long term. Like, are you sure? Like, are you sure? Because I was like, it could easily go back down to $5. But I was like, that also being said, I was like, within 18 months, I mean, you're going to see $15 to $20 in my thought process, right? Like, so it's going to double or potentially even triple from where it is today in just 18 months. So it'll be fun. A lot of fun, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm never selling call options on Rocket Lab again. It's funny. I realized that I want to have two portfolios, like one where I do like the wheel strategy, and one where I just like buy and hold long term, and don't mix the two, because I realized that I'm not willing to sell my shares. Like I sold also calls on Palantir, and they're like very much in the money, and I'm like, oh, how do I get out of this? And it's not worth it, because if I was just wheeling, I would be like, I don't care, like take my shares. I made money on like both the shares and the calls, but yeah,
man, it's definitely interesting. We'll see what ends up happening. I mean, hopefully there's no big news. I mean, unless they come out in the November earnings report, because keep in mind we're 10 days or so from the end of the third quarter. Generally, you have about a month and a half before they release earnings. So November, I think, was the last time they released third quarter. My hope is as well with this November upcoming is they release the manifest like they did the third quarter last year. Because you think they released the manifest because you're a month and a half from starting the new year, and in their full year earnings report doesn't come out till February. So this is the time that they release the manifest within the next 2 months, and I'm curious to see what they're putting.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because since like it has been cleared up, how the rocket financing is being done, like the launch manifest is not so important to me anymore. I'm more out. I realized I actually did a video this week, I think, that like on the finances of Rocket Lab, like we were speaking about, like if they need new financing, and if they have money to like that they said they have money to put Neutron on the pad. And I realized, like, the minute they start selling Neutron, they're getting the 10% down payment. And, like, basically the customers are paying for the 55 million will, because they're getting 90% paid, right? So like 50 million will be in the box before Neutron launches. And I'm like, I think we underestimated like how strong they are financially, if like that's the system that they're using to sell the launches, you know?
Yeah, I'm pretty curious myself. I mean, I think I haven't really ever thought they were in a dire situation. And in fact, I was very confused when they did the initial $300 convertible note earlier this year. And scratching my head because at the time I knew that they had to pay off $100 million by June or July of this year, but they still had 300 or so million in the bank. So I was like, okay, well, that'll leave them from 300, 350 that they had at the time to next year. They would be at about 250 to 300 million. They pay the 100 million, that'd leave them 150 to 200 million. And then they have 150 to 200 million until they get to Neutron, which to me, you know, I was envisioning they would have plenty of capital to be able to get there. They'll probably have 50 to 100 million to spare, knowing that they probably still have 50 million that they have to spend between now and the end before they light the candle up and they start taking in orders. So I don't know. But it is what it is now. Now we have the cap call. I mean, that's over and done with, and the $300 million offering is done with, and so now we have 550 million in the bank. We have literally no concerns. I have no concerns unless there's some massive project that comes through that requires billions of dollars in capital, which I don't really foresee. You know, I mean, the Neutron I think is going to cost 10 to 20 million a piece to build. Not including operating expenditures and stuff like that. Like you said, they're going to get 90% of that money up front. A lot of the contracting stuff that they're doing for the SDA and many other of these contracts, I don't think that that's going to require hundreds or 200s of millions of dollars. So
no, I think he said also even that it's cash flow neutral, like the SDA. Like he said it on many conference calls.
Yeah. So I'm very confident that really the big expense is really the Neutron. Yeah, and I feel like that's coming to a close. So I'm very curious to see what happens post quarter of Neutron. What happens from a cash flow perspective.
Yeah, I feel like the only risk and quote unquote, right? Like the only risk on the capital raise is if they're going to do like $1 billion constellation, right? But again, I feel that if they would do that, like Rocket Lab never does anything without a strong business case, right? And then again, at that time, I'm fine with it, like because they're not a company that is like, let's bet the farm on, you know, this new technology constellation, and it's $4 billion to build it out. And then on top of this, like on more and more interviews and conference calls, like it does sound like that they're going to build constellations for others, meaning that they would get paid up front. I mean, okay, the truth is, I think it's a bit funny because you're also a Palantir shareholder, and you know, like basically the Palantir model used to be that the companies could do what Palantir is doing. They would have to spend $1 billion in like trying to build their own foundry, right. And then it might not work, right? Like it has a 80% chance of failure. And then like Palantir did spend $1 billion for you already, and then you can buy them on a subscription that is like, I don't know, 40 million per year, right? And then this is why in the beginning, like Palantir was like unprofitable because they were like building out their software and programs, and they were not getting enough money like coming in from the customers, right? And I'm thinking that the constellation would be a similar cycle, that let's say if Apple would want a constellation, it would be like, I'm just thinking out loud, you know, that it would cost like upfront 500 million to build the constellation, right? But Rocket Lab can say that, look, guys, you need this data from space, and you pay us like 20 million a year, and then you have it. Like within a year, like we have the constellation, right? And then Rocket Lab has to front the cost, take the risk, right? Like put the constellation up. But if this would be the case for the constellation, I think that Rocket Lab would be able to like loan money on this, like issue bonds or you know, something, because you have a very reliable cash flow, and And again, that's something that would be okay with me, because then they're not diluting us, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain type of leverage that you get when you get that opportunity to do that, right? Especially if you think about it. I mean, we haven't been talking about net margins really, but we must have been talking about gross margins. But if you're able to borrow at 5%, and let's say the gross margins are 30%, and your net margins are half of that at 10 to 15%, you're still coming out positive, right? And so, that. Thanks for not talking about Lunar. That's pretty funny.
Is it because it's painful, fool's gold, or you don't like Lunar?
Yeah, I'm curious as well. Is it because I know Dave's talks about Lunar quite a bit. I'm curious.
It's so funny. He did this video that he's like, yeah, I bought Lunar and it's 50% up, and I knew they were getting this contract, and I'm like, Dave, I'm freaking watching your videos, and it didn't cut. Like, if you would have said, I knew they're getting this contract, I would have bought it.
Right? What kind of insider bullshit is this that you didn't help your brother out?
Exactly.
I'll have to give him shit. I'll have to DM him, and
he owns 4 shares.
Hey, man, it's more than I got. Lunar's cool AF. We'll see, man. We'll see. Yeah, if anybody has it, congratulations. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm curious, man. I'm curious to see how this really pans out. I think about it, and I'm sitting here like, how lucky are we with Palantir getting into the S&P? And granted, I feel like that will pull back a bit. You know, I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if we go into the high 20s again.
Well, please, I have calls that I need to roll, so please.
Yeah, true. Me as well. I'm at 33 and 34, I think. So I need to continue to. Yeah, I'm in the same. Yeah, I'm same boat. So, hopefully over time I can continue to roll out and keep those. And I honestly, I think the big hype for Palantir, and I don't want to make this a Palantir stream, but I think the big hype for Palantir right now is everybody's assuming that 30% year-over-year growth is baked into the Q3 earnings. And so if it doesn't show up with 30% year-over-year growth, then that's going to be very detrimental, I think, to the price. And I think they're going to lose a lot of people. So we got Tesla pushing back. Tesla's pushing back. We're not going to the 20s. Palantir's not going to the 20s. You heard it here first.
Yeah. I mean, even if we go low 30s, I will be able to roll. It's just like right now like the valuation on Palantir, it doesn't make any sense to me currently. And it's the first time, like, because I've been covering the stock like since I don't know, it was in the $6, and every time when it was going up, there has been a lot of people who was like, it's too expensive, and I was never in that boat, even at $20 when it came up to $20, and we were like, who the heck is buying at $20? Very smart people, as it turns out, but even at that time, I'm like, I kind of see like why you could be justifying buying at this price, but this 38, I'm like, you're buying into like the best case. I get this vibe, when Tesla was at like $400, when they joined the S&P and everything was like going their way. And I'm like, yeah, if you're buying now, it's like you're buying, like they have to do perfect execution and beat that. And then the price is worth 38, So it's like you have risk basically only to the downside. Yeah. I might be wrong, but yeah. Whereas Rocket Lab is the opposite. I think it's still super undervalued. I was like, what was I thinking selling a call at $8? Because it's still like not even fair value, or like it's around fair value for the stock. And we're so far from being overhyped or over, yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many shares that Top Secret has, but I hope it's the same for me. I don't know. Let's start doing some math. So even at 19,500 shares, let's just say I don't have any more. I think that the price would potentially go to 50, which I think is a 25. Yeah, it's about a $25 billion market cap. I see that potentially. Even at a $50 billion market cap, that's 100. For me, that's 1.9 million. For you, it's what, 6.5-ish? Because it's 3.7.
Say that again.
because you had 65,000 shares. If we go
Yeah.
to $50, which is 25 billion market cap,
65,000
what is
times
that?
50, right?
Yeah, that's 3.2 for you.
3.2, yeah. And 100
So
would be
if Rocket Lab
6.5.
goes to a $50 billion market cap, then you're at 6.5, and I'd be at 1.95.
Yeah.
At
And
100.
by the way, just a funny thing for Curtis, that he sent me these shirts, and like I've been wearing them like in real life, right? And I haven't gotten a single comment from anyone that, oh wow,
Really?
a Rocket Lab shirt, except from my 10-year-old daughter, who's also a Rocket Lab shareholder. And I got Curtis's package when she was in school. And then when she came home, she just looked at me and she's like, "You have a Rocket Lab shirt. Where did you get this from?" And I was telling my wife that this is how it should be, you know, like when you're early in the company, like no one knows, you know, because if I was wearing a Tesla shirt, it's like everybody would have like, oh yeah, I mean, I don't know if they would have commented on it, but
Fool's Gold, you're the man. You and Curtis, you guys are out of control. But I love that story, man. I mean, you're inspiring like young kid, you know, like I didn't have that growing up of having the stock market. I had real estate. I mean, my extended family is very much into real estate and buying property and apartment buildings and stuff like that. Smaller apartment buildings. I'm not talking like the 200, 300 unit, but the big influence that I got from the stock market was seeing my brother when he first started working back in, I would say like 2008, 2009, post Great Financial Crisis. I saw him buying stocks. I saw him buying Amazon. I saw him buying a couple things, and he never ended up really like sticking with it. But it got me intrigued, and I was just like, okay, so like when you start working, like you're gonna have excess money, like what do you do with it? And it made me always think, like I'd always thought about the stock market and being involved with it and what I would do with the excess money that I'd be making from my engineering job. And I don't know. Now the rest is kind of history, but yeah,
I mean,
you're influencing the next generation.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's interesting because like I'm very fortunate with my parents, right? And I'm very how do you call it? Like I'm very happy for my upbringing, but like at the same time, like I wish that they would like, because me and my dad, like we started being interested in the stock market like when I was like 17, 18, you know, and both of us was like we did like an online course by like a Hungarian guy, whatever. And then, you know, I told him that like I think we should buy Apple, you know, and then like just hold it. But at that time it was like all about like technical trading, you know. And then I like since then Apple has gone like 50x up, you know. And then and we weren't taking it seriously. And then in 2012 or 2014, when I found out about Elon Musk, I started like compulsively watching videos about him because like the story was so fascinating. Like he was very unknown at that time. Like the Model 3 was not announced at that time, right? And then I told my dad, like, I think we need to buy Tesla stock, you know. And he had money on the broker account. I think he had $100,000 or $10,000. No, I think $100,000 on a broker account, ready to buy. And then he told my mom, like, can you find this security token, you know, to be able to sign to get the shares? And it took my mom like 4 or 5 days to find it. And the stock went from $80 to $120 in like 5 days. And my dad was like, it's overvalued. I'm not buying, you know? And then we're looking at it today and I'm like, Dad, like you would have like $3 to $4 million from like, if you would have bought at that time, you know? And seeing this, you know, like living through this on multiple companies, like I know what buy and hold can do, you know, like I've seen it with and I'm like, why didn't anybody tell me that, you know, you just invest in amazing companies with amazing futures and you just, you know, save up, put your money there and you just sit on it. Like you don't do anything and they will do unbelievable things.
Right.
and I was like, I'm not gonna make this mistake with my kids, and we start early, so that they,
At least give them the opportunity, right? At least you could say you tried your best to push them in the right direction. But Fool's Gold, thank you so much. He says, let's fucking go. $50 per share, 6.75 million. What a guy.
Yeah.
Huge holder. Huge holder. And we got Curtis as well. This one's on your channel though, Vince. $10.01.
Oh.
Yeah,
I mean,
the man, the myth, the
guys,
legend, Curtis.
you guys are amazing. I mean, especially Curtis. I mean, he's so nice. He's sending stuff that I really appreciate. The T-shirts. I mean, he sent this sign, like Rocket Lab shareholder sign. Yeah.
Mine's
really
downstairs.
Cool.
I keep forgetting to bring it upstairs because then I can, at least show the shirt and everything like that. But I keep forgetting to bring the package upstairs. Especially my sign. I need to figure out where I want to hang it. I've been thinking, I'm like, well, it's like if I nail it, it's gonna shatter. So I'm like, what do I do? And then I'm like, do I want to wear the shirt? Do I want to frame it? I don't even know. Anyway, it's a super good gift. Super great gift.
Yeah.
It's sitting right next to my Palantir box, and I'm afraid to touch the Alex Carpat because I don't want to get I don't want to
Was it signed?
Mine was signed. Yeah.
How did you get that?
There's a gentleman that does specifically kind of social media interactions, but he also
Eliano or whatever.
Eliano, yeah. And he was coming to Houston. He was going to Dallas for something else, but he stopped in Houston for the day and met with me and Roy Crossroads. And basically he's Palantir's a little bit different, right? You can kind of construct your own jobs, and as long as you kind of say, this is what I want to do, and they think it adds value, they let you kind of do it. So you're kind of your own boss in that respect, which is pretty badass. So he does a lot of event planning and stuff in the back in his previous roles. And that's how he met Alex. And I don't want to tell his story too much, but he basically started 2 or 3 years ago. He fell in love with Palantir, bought on direct listing day. And he just happened to, I guess, stumble across me, Roy, and a few others, probably because our interactions with Amit. And he's just giving out small things to help interactions with social media. So he's kind of that olive branch between the company and some of the retail investor community to keep, the positive light and branding on Palantir. So I think they're just trying to grow the brand, and they're trying to grow what is this secret organization, and build the hype of something that's really good and the values. So if you're a big Palantir shareholder, and then you're not really following the same values, he probably wouldn't be interacting with you, right? But if you like the same values, you're Western first, you're demonstrating, then he'll probably reach out to you. And if not, I mean, just send him a message, I'm sure we'll get over.
I'm too far away from them. They never come by Sweden and have a lunch with me.
There you go.
It would be nice.
Rocket Lab is 3.5 billion market cap right now. To answer that question, more money from Rocket Lab than your whole career as a mechanical engineer. That's insane.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys are saying 3.7. Sorry, I didn't read ahead. Modbox, what's going on, my guy? Hot Mark. We got some good old folks in here.
Where is Vince? I mean, there was also someone who was asking which part of Sweden am I from? I'm south Sweden, in the Scania region. I think that's what it's called. Very near Copenhagen. And if you guys are Rocket Lab shareholders and watch the channel, and you're ever in Sweden, I'm happy to meet up with you guys.
Yeah, I need to bring the Rocket Lab merch up here. I need to do a lot of stuff in this office. It's pretty plain. I just have boxes. You don't want to see the floor. The boxes is covered in boxes. Sorry, the floor is just covered in boxes from when I get packages. This is my my workroom, like my office space. So I'll like open packages and then distribute from here to the house. I need to take a trip down to the dumpster and get rid of a lot of these boxes that are in here.
Yeah,
Let's see.
yeah.
Let's see. What other questions we got in the chat? Most scared to jump into the market, but rather buy seltzer water or $30 Uber rides. Yeah, most people are scared. They're just like, spend $100 on a stock, they freak out, but they'll spend $100 on like a plate of spaghetti. 2 stocks, Palantir, Rocket Lab, just like our boy Hot Vince over here. Are you going to add a third position?
I mean, I'm trying to open a second portfolio that will be basically wheeling, and Tesla is something that I'm very much looking at. But I don't like the recent run up. But yeah, hopefully it comes back down.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'm anticipating it pulls back, but at the same time, there could be a lot of anticipation, especially if there's a lot of coverage on Neutron, then which I feel like in the next 6 months is either going to start T-minus 3 months to launch. I mean, it's going to get pretty crazy, but I don't know. It's been able to keep quiet this long with 53 launches and the second most launched vehicle in the United States, now the number 3 in the world. So surprisingly, and it's only a 3.7 billion market cap. It's pretty insane if you think about it. Hey, Fool's Gold, thank you for all the super chats, man. It's absolutely insane. You're the man.
Yeah, go and spend time with your daughter.
Matt Money's Strip Club. She's not. Love that.
Yeah,
15
I
dividend stocks. There you go. There you go. Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's fine. If it hits 100, I have a list of 15 dividend stocks. Yeah. It's funny because like I also thought about this, like what if Rocket Lab becomes this company like that is, you know, mature and not growing anymore, and like, you know, like would I want to hold on to my shares and buy like dividend shares? And I'm like, I think I would just sell calls at the time for, I don't know, I have such a thing on like knowing what you invest in, you know, because like I thought about like also for the wheeling, right? Like you don't have to be so careful about, in theory, like what stock you sell puts on, because, you know, you can manufacture the win, and, you know, like you don't have to be as precise as when you're like, okay, I'm going to hold this for 10 years. But still, I realized like, no, I want to be this super nerd on the stocks that I invest in.
You got to do what's right for you. I mean, I don't know. I think about that with Palantir as well. Like if Palantir were to go to like for example, because at the 37 now, if I were to go to like 60 or 70 bucks, I feel like I would just have to sell today, right? I mean, not talking about 5-10 years down the road. I'm talking about if it for some reason jumped to 60 or 70 bucks today, I would have to, because I just don't foresee, and the joke could be on me, right? Like, but unless there's some drastic change in growth rate between now and the end of the year, which we would find out in like February of next year, I just don't see it being worth 60 or 70 bucks a share. It's the same thing with Rocket Lab. It's like, I don't know. I think maybe a little bit differently about Rocket Lab because we have yet to really see that step up in revenue that we're going to get for Neutron. And I think that that's going to be a complete pivot point for the stock. I mean, if you think about it, let's say we do get off one rocket next year in 2025 for Neutron. Then we get off 2 or 3 in 2026. And then we, you know, maybe over the let's just say, for example, it takes us 6 years to get 50 launches like it for the Electron. 50 times 50, let's just be honest, is $2.5 billion. And let's just divide that by 6. That's $400 million per annum. And I know that's averaged, right? But if you think about it, it's like, so you start off at 1 launch in 25, 2 or 3 launches in 26, 3 or 4 launches in 27. 28 will probably be closer to like 10 launches. 2029 is going to be closer to 10 launches. And then you might get 14 or 15 launches in 2031, which I guess would be 6 years after. So let's just say you're getting close to 15 launches in 2031. That's $750 million. And keep in mind, the price for a Neutron could be 60 million at that point, or it could be less, right? I mean, it all depends on the competition. But let's just say, for example, it stays at the 55 million and you get 15 launches off. You're talking $800 million in a single year just from that, which is currently double the current. And that's not even full cadence, right? I'd anticipate full cadence for a Neutron might be, I don't know, 2 or 3 a month in the shorter term. So I don't know. We haven't gotten to a place yet to kind of talk about it. But then you think about how much haste is going to help, and then how much Electron. You probably get 30 or 40 electrons per annum. So you start building out this thing, and you're not even taking into account space systems at that point. It could get pretty crazy, man. I could foresee this being a company that's making $2.5–3 billion in revenue per annum. And if that's the case, they're going to be pulling good money.
And you know, something that is interesting, I should do more videos on this, but recently I really started seeing analysis about how like the medium launch market is like, how do you call it? Like the customers are scrambling to get to space. And you know how much questions Peter Beck was receiving on like, how come you're not signing a contract? Where is the demand? You know? And like there was this interview with the Stoke Space CEO guy who said that like if like he gave this example that in the early 2000s or 2010s, like OneWeb was trying to become Starlink, and they were not able to get the constellation up. Like he said that the last satellite in the constellation was sent up in 2020, something like this. And then the first ones that they sent up were being decommissioned. So they were not able to like have the constellation in one go up there. And then he said that look at Amazon, like the Kuiper, they're supposed to have 6,000 satellites or their FAA permit goes out, and they're not able to get them up. Because they're like, for some reason, they're refusing to fly on, I mean, for some reason, we all know the reason, but they're like refusing to fly on Falcon. And they're signing with the other launch providers, and those guys are just not launching. Right. And I actually today saw a video by a really cool channel, Laura something. I don't know if you have seen her channel. She's like a space consultant, and she was listing like how much companies are in development on medium launch vehicles and how much demand there is. And Falcon is booked like 2 years ahead. And like the satellite companies, they have no way of like, there's no access to orbit right now, you know?
Right.
So
right.
What I'm trying to say is I think Neutron is going to scale as fast as they can produce it. Like it's not going to be waiting for customers and contracts, and like that vehicle is going to do extremely well. And it's funny because Peter also said it in earnings calls. It's just, I don't know, we were so focused on like, where's the contract? But he also said that I hope we will be able to produce the vehicle fast enough to meet the customer demand.
Yeah, 100%. So going back to some more, I guess, basic questions about the company. New to Rocket Lab, how many successful launches have they had to date? What do they mainly put into space? So they mostly at the moment contracts for many companies like Black Sky, Synspective, Kinéis is one, Planet Lab in the past, NASA, Astroscale, all those guys. There's a lot of different lists of contractors to date that they've kind of worked with. In terms of how many launches successfully, what is it? 53 minus 4, so 49 successful launches, Vince, if I remember correctly. They've had 4 failures.
I don't know. I don't know if they count the first, like the test launches. I don't know how they count, but many launches. Yeah. I think this is the 54th launch.
53rd.
53rd, yeah, and most of them, like 90+%, is successful launches. So
yeah. Rocket Lab's going to be a cash cow and make a lot of millionaires. I love that. Love that. Scott, thank you for the $10 super chat, my guy. Much appreciated. A little love for these guys doing it on their own time and dime. Much appreciated. Can't believe this. This is like super chat insanity today.
Yeah, super chat shower. I think this is the best one that we've ever had on any. Yeah.
Well, you should have been here yesterday. It was crazy. I don't, or maybe it was 2 days ago. Fool's Gold gave me $200.
Wow.
100 and then 100. There was 99.99 and then 99.99. I was like, oh my god, I was fired up. And then Curtis came in and did 100, and I was just like, oh my god. So I never made $300 from a stream before. It was absolutely insane. And
how much did you have?
I
to
wasn't
strip
expecting
for
it.
that?
I showed a lot of skin, and then then I think that's why I got the $100 from Curtis, and Curtis said put your clothes back on, and so I did. And so I didn't end up actually stripping fully, but I was getting there.
Yeah,
So,
I mean it's very very much appreciated, and I mean you guys don't have to do it, so it's
You don't,
like
you don't,
we're
but
we're
it's
here, and we wear boxers even if we don't get super chats.
Yes, and I did get it was funny because of the aborted mission. They're like, we still want to see a rocket launch. So they were talking about a different rocket though. So I was like, well, I don't know. I might get kicked off of YouTube if that happens. So so anyway, I kept it calm, you know. I kept it
PG.
Yeah, I kept it PG.
You're like the OnlyFans link is in the description. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, exactly. I was just like my what is it? Feet Finder is in the description. Yeah, if you guys want to join that, feel free. You know. Most money in your dividend stocks, but could seriously consider having to put those into Rocket Lab. Hey, man, there's nothing wrong with that. What were we going to say, Vince? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that is so interesting with the YouTube and the work that we do here, because like, I mean, I think you're stupid if you do YouTube for money, right? Because it's not going to be, or I don't know, unless, yeah, like like I feel that if you do a YouTube channel about general stocks and stock news and you know, then maybe you can make a living. But when you focus on like niche and unknown stocks, it's like very, very hard to make a living.
That's true.
But when we do the research correctly and we put our own money into the stock and it works out, then I mean, like today I was up $200,000 on Rocket Lab, like in total, right? And it's been 1 year, you know, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty good for a year of
It's really interesting to think about. I mean, Amit goes live pretty regularly, and he's making, you know, a few thousand a month, and he's putting full-time effort into it, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, I think he's going to make it full time, like, because
he'll do a good job.
Yeah. I think he's making an okay pay now from YouTube. And I
definitely enough to start and continue to build a portfolio, which I think is the main thing.
Yeah.
Cool. Matt, Vince, how much do we pay for Lockheed for the factory release, and when is the lease up? I don't know. I do not know. Vince, do you know?
If you know, no. I didn't even know we lease a factory from Lockheed Martin. You see it?
It's
embarrassing, but
is Black Sky a buy at the moment? Curtis would say no. Curtis would say absolutely not.
Well, he was blocked by the Black Sky social media team, no?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty. He's got a lot of influence, man. I guess they really don't like our boy Curtis. Don't you think Rocket Lab doesn't get enough other contracts like this big one in December 2023, especially in space systems area? There are contracts awarded here and there, and almost none for Rocket Lab. I think that will change personally, but
me too.
Could be wrong.
Me too. It's just we have seen it on Palantir. It's funny how similar these stocks are and not at the same time. But like Palantir was getting this huge NHS contract, and it was like for 2 years we were like it was supposed to come at any moment, if you remember. And then I think Rocket Lab is the same. Like keep in mind that these contracts are like possibly in the billions, and they're multi-year contracts, right? Like 5, 6, 7, 8 years contracts. So, you know, if they're late a quarter or two, like who gives an F, as long as we get it, you know? And we know that Rocket Lab is like, we know that these contracts are out there. We know that Rocket Lab is bidding for them, and I'm 100% that we will get it sooner or later.
Yeah, Adam keeps talking about that pretty regularly.
Is it starting again, the stream?
I checked. It doesn't seem like it, so we'll see. Yeah, Adam talks about quite a bit how we will be surprised, and you know, I think one of the key things that needs to be unlocked for Rocket Lab specifically is that neutron piece. And once that neutron piece comes into play, it's almost like how much simpler could it be for the Space Development Agency, because they could say build the satellites and launch them all in one. Right. And they could be like, you guys win, you know. Oh, let's go back.
Kinéis killed the RadIOT star, our 53rd Electron launch. Just over an hour ago, Electron lifted off from Pad A at Launch Complex 1 in New Zealand, carrying 5 satellites for French IoT company Kinéis. The satellites are now just minutes away from being deployed to their final positions in space. The Kickstage's Curie engine is performing 2 burns today, and while we were on our break, we've already had our first ignition and cutoff. This Curie burn lasted about 2.5 minutes to round out our orbit from its 643-kilometer apogee. We've mentioned Curie a few times this launch, and we've talked about our small but mighty engine prior to liftoff. But just how small is it? Well, check it out here.
What?
Now,
you have not seen this before?
Physicist Marie Curie. This
I have,
small
but I
engine is
forgot.
capable of
Like
some very big
I keep
maneuvers.
forgetting.
We've flown this engine on all but our first mission, and it allows us to raise and lower our orbits, perform plane changes on orbit, and it's responsible for our pinpoint payload deployment accuracy.
I don't know. I
This
thought it was
version
twice
we have
that.
here is the Curie Mark III, and it's not just used on Electron's kick stage. This engine is used on a lot of our spacecraft missions as well. The Mark III engine used here is in the satellites that we're building for Varda's in-space pharmaceutical manufacturing, and we flew a variant of this engine to the moon back in 2022 as part of the capstone mission for NASA.
With only a few more milestones left in this mission, the second Curie burn comes next, lasting just 8 seconds. This is a slight orbit adjustment specific to our customer's mission before the deployment sequence begins. The satellites will deploy approximately 45 seconds apart, starting with the forwardmost satellite.
Yeah, I don't know why I thought that the Curie was about twice that size. It's been a while since I've seen, like, maybe I just didn't realize it until she put it. Like, I don't know if I've seen it, somebody holding it before.
Because it was, I think, 2 launches ago or something. They also showed it, but
did they? Yeah. Maybe I wasn't paying attention.
Curie ignition confirmed.
That's what she said.
Curie engine cutoff confirmed.
Looks a lot smaller in her hands.
Great news there to have Curie engine shutdown confirmed by mission control for the kick stage. Now, up next is our last mission milestone, the payload deployment for the next 5 satellites for Kinéis' constellation. Each Kinéis satellite is a 16U platform weighing about 30 kilograms or 66 pounds. As we've mentioned already, the 5 satellites currently attached to the kick stage will be deployed in a particular order. We'll first deploy the top spacecraft as the first event, and then we deploy the next 2 satellites that are attached opposite to one another on the payload structure. And finally, we'll do the same thing again with the last 2 spacecraft. Between deployments, the kick stage does some neat gymnastics thanks to our reaction control thrusters, so keep an eye over on the animation for that, and over now to mission control.
Final orbit.
I don't know if that's what kind of music this is. I don't want to get we'll see. Interesting. You can see the 5 different satellites on here.
Yeah. The last milestone.
There's number 1.
on this mission is now on orbit. Our reaction control system, or RCS, will expel some cold gas to change our orientation so we can deploy the next two exactly where they need to be. That'll be Kinéis 2 and 4, followed by Kinéis 3 and 5.
This to me is super impressive how they can do these maneuvers. I mean, like the precision on these is nuts.
Kinéis, Payload 2 and 4 deployment confirmed.
Did he say 2 and 4? It didn't
Stellar
show on
news
that.
there from Mission Control.
Oh.
Kinéis 2 and 4 have been deployed and are now on orbit. Now, one more Olympic level flip for the kick stage, and then final deployment for this mission. Kinéis satellites 3 and 5 up next.
You know, like on the Boeing Starliner, like some of the thrusters like weren't working. So like imagine that all the thrusters have to work and they have to start and
3 and 5 deployment confirmed.
it's funny it's confirmed before the animation shows it.
Yeah.
And there we have it. The final two Kinéis satellites, 3 and 5, are now deployed. Mission success for Kinéis kills the RadIOT star. Welcome back to orbit for our customers. Electron has added another 5 satellites to space for the Kinéis constellation. We have another 15 satellites to go across 3 more Electron missions to complete the build-out of Kinéis' constellation, and we cannot wait.
And we'll be back again in no time with the next Electron on the pad. So stay tuned to our social media channels for mission updates on the next launch.
I love you,
Now,
Prache.
we'll wrap up today's broadcast and see you back here soon. Thanks for joining us. This is Rocket Lab Mission Control signing off.
Thank you, guys.
And there it is. And there it is. All right, that's that makes me happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely makes me happy. A successful mission.
It's definitely cool that, you know, like on Firefly and, you know, like certain other companies, it's like, how do you call it? Like with Rocket Lab, it's like you expect that this is going to go super smooth and nothing is going to happen, you know?
Right,
And then,
100%.
and then like with these other companies, it's like, it's like a coin toss.
Yeah. Excellent track record. Thanks to you guys who built some homework to do after building out a position in Palantir and SoFi, looking for another ground floor business. I definitely think that this one is a good one. Oh, we got some Nora and Pure in the lineup. Yeah, man, I love Rocket Lab. It's one of my high conviction stocks. I do have some SoFi, but not nearly as much SoFi as I do Rocket Lab. I have to say thank you for the content. It's been great to hear others' perspective of wisdom. Thank you for not selling me shit. Absolutely. Bullish Amit. I agreed 100%. Rocket Lab stock price in 5 years. Vince, go ahead.
I don't know, between 25 to 50, I think.
25 to 50. I'm going to say $30, which is about a $15 billion market cap without any further dilution. Because I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I have to do some analysis because I don't know. I think I could stick with my $15 price target because there's a lot of catalysts until not for the next 5 years, but 15 for the end of next year. But yeah, going from 15 to 30, it's gonna be tough. Yeah. Yeah, I think I heard Amit say he makes about 30. Yeah, I know he's making about a couple $1,000 a month. Hey, my guy.
You're a
Hanging
Twitch
out
streamer
on,
now, Matt?
I'm a Twitch streamer now, my guys. Amit was at AI PCon. Yeah, that was insane. Yeah, I'm trying to do a little bit of Twitch. We'll see if it picks up. We will see if it picks up. That's the hope. It requires a lot to kind of get monetized. Well, it's a little bit easier. You kind of get forced into viewership though. So like you have to get 50 followers on it, and then you also have to have people watching you, like of your streams. You have to average 3 viewers over all your streams. So like, for example, we're averaging about 60 to 70 probably on YouTube per stream, maybe more, especially if we don't co-stream. It might be more, but yeah, like imagine averaging 3 just starting out. It takes a little bit. It takes a little bit of time.
And I don't think
great in bringing in the other tubers, exciting companies and attention. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, it's okay. Like Twitch is not finance oriented, so I think it's like that makes it doubly hard.
It's tough. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
Have you seen U.S. Space Force ad before YouTube videos? It gets me super pumped because I do like Rocket Lab, a beneficiary in the long run to securing in space. I did not know there was a U.S. Space Force ad before my YouTube videos, or any YouTube videos for that matter. I haven't seen that yet. Hey, Steve, hopefully you didn't sign off as of yet. $5 super chat, $5 Canadian. So that's like $100 US, right? Yeah, you guys gotta trust Hot Curtis. Curtis knows what he's talking about. Love a good nominal launch. We got Mopbox in the house with Ceviche. The good old chats. Anyone has 3D printer? Let's see. I'm 5 minutes behind. It won't. It's just 8 seconds. Let's see. You see anything in the chat before we call it a day?
No, just if people want to join the pool party on Twitter, you can message Curtis.
Yeah.
And he will add you. He has added Eric Trump in there. We got.
Yeah, I was surprised. I heard about that. That's insane.
we were overexcited there for a second. Did it all go well? Yes, it did.
It did go well. At what price would you sell, Vince? What would you consider a good entry price?
Like into Rocket Lab? I mean, I would say if you haven't built a position yet, I think up to $8 you're buying under fair value. And even between $8 to $10, like it depends on time horizon. But that is not to say that, like, I think that we are going to go back down because we have been going like straight up for, I don't know, weeks and weeks and weeks now. So if you're buying now, like, don't be sad if you see the 6s again or the 5s again. And you can just buy more at that time, but it's also not guaranteed, as Matt usually says it.
Nothing's guaranteed. You know, I think there's a big catalyst. There's cash burn. It's not profitable. Neutron is still a big thing in the wings. So, you know, there could also be negative press between here and now, or between here and when they launch off a Neutron. You know, people could say that some people are always speculating if it's going to get pushed back to late 2025 or early 2026. You know, all these different things. So. You never know.
It's definitely a wild ride. If you guys buy Rocket Lab, it's since I've owned the stock, it fell like 50%, and then it skyrocketed up and then fell again 50%. And you as long as you have a long-term viewpoint on the stock, I think it's an easy hold, but it does move around.
Yeah, it's one that you really have to think about. Getting back into Rocket Lab, get a DCA back to 5,000 shares. That's awesome, man. I really, really love it. But the stock's not for everybody, right? I mean, it's going to be volatile. It's small cap, $3.5 billion. It could be, I don't want to say manipulated, but it could be pushed around by certain companies. If a big shareholder wants to sell, like Vince, you know, it can be manipulated. So, and I don't mean manipulated as if like it's rigged, right? It just means like if anybody that's a big holder wants to get rid of their shares because they've been holding since a couple $100 million company, now it's 3.7 billion, they could sell, you know, and get their money. So
yeah, and on the question on what price I would sell, like I'm not thinking about selling. Like as I said, like I've seen what, you know, Apple did over like a 15-20 year period. I've seen Tesla in a 15-year period. You know, there's a lot of examples of generational companies that just grow and grow year in, year out. And I think that Rocket Lab is one of those companies. And And even if we run too much, like if it would go to $30 tomorrow because of, I don't know, ASTS is running and we run with it, I would know that, okay, like it's definitely overvalued, and I'm fine on having a year or two when we're going down. I would just still hold through it.
Yeah. I mean, it all just depends on what your kind of investment strategy is. And, you know, I know it works for me, but it might not necessarily work for you. But I did bring up the Scream. Somebody did message in the chat. So Peter did message 2 minutes ago. He posted on X. There we go. 100% mission success. Welcome to your new home, Kinéis. And congratulations, Rocket Lab team. So official. Let Uncle Matty like and repost. Yeah, man, I appreciate everybody stopping by. It's always fun. The option space is going to be interesting because, yeah, I don't know. I think the option space is going to be interesting. The thing that bothers me with the option space is you only get up to $12 or $15, depending on if you're looking at 2025 to 2027. And so my hope is that they open up future contracts here pretty soon so you can go and look further out, because it would be nice to be able to load up on something like a 2027 $15, $20 contract for a fraction of the price of, you know, what it is. And then by the time you get to next year and the stock price doubles, those things will probably skyrocket in terms of value. So but you never know. Yeah, you never know with these things.
Yeah. Blake, I had a question. Like he says, Vince, did you see my option question? But I don't find his option question. I don't know what he.
I don't remember seeing it either. I saw somebody say, "Should I sell my January 2025 calls?" But that was a couple minutes ago. I don't know if that was the question or not.
I don't know how to answer these questions because, like, I actually going to write some notes for myself to always remember that I'm not good at, and I don't think anybody is good at predicting the short-term motion of the stock. Like there's been so many times that I thought, I mean, that's why I sold the $8 call, because I thought, okay, we're not going to leave the fives on Rocket Lab. We're just going to be, you know, going up and down here. And I didn't predict that ASTS was going to moon and, you know, the whole market was going to moon. And now I'm really afraid for my $8 calls, you know. On the long term, I've been quite correct so far on the stocks that I have picked, but on the short term, like anything can happen. Like the Japanese yen trade, I did not see that one coming. I don't know who did. So I don't know what your strategy is. Like, I think if you're very much up on your calls and they're short, they're not leaps, they're short-term calls, I would probably take profit. Like, I think that I don't know how much room there is to run, like without a pullback, because we have been, I don't know what you think, Matt. I mean, we have been like 60-70% run we have had now.
Yeah, it's surprising. I haven't seen something like this in a couple of years in Rocket Lab. So there might be a pullback. Maybe it continues to go, depending on what kind of information comes out. You know, it should be good fun next couple of months. Leak keeps asking about puts. I mean, I can't tell you what is the right price to sell puts at, right? Some people might say sell puts at the money. Some people might say, you know, buy at $4, right? So or sell at $4. So it really is dependent on you. You know, like I can't tell you what
I can tell you from experience is that you really need to sell puts on a price that you would be happy to own the stock, because that's the only, like, don't do it for the cash flow. The cash flow is a bonus. I think if you do the selling options because you're going to make a monthly cash flow, you're going to make a mistake. The best way that I've found to do options is, you know, like I would be happy to own Rocket Lab at $4. I sell that put option, and then you literally don't care what happens, because if the option expires worthless, you win. And if the stock goes down to $4, you win again, because you anyways wanted to own the stock at that price. Like, this is my 2 cents on this.
Yeah, and I think you have to think. I think a lot of people like hear about TJ and Amit doing these puts and selling calls, and it's like you have to realize, does that fit into your strategy? And you have to think, like, if you want to make money buying Rocket Lab, you're gonna have to own shares. You're not guaranteed to own shares by selling puts, unless you're
Yeah.
Vince and you poorly time, a huge amount of puts that
Like
eventually
Vince.
yeah, but no, in all seriousness, like think about it. Let's say you write at 550 or 6 because that's the strike price that you want to buy it at, and the price never goes back down there, and you miss out on going to $10, $15, $20 because you never actually bought the stock because you're so concerned about buying it at a discount. You really got to think about what is your long-term vision for the stock? Where do you think it's going to be? And if you don't own any, it's okay buying at $5. It's okay buying at $7 because, in my opinion, if I had zero money in this opportunity and I saw where it is today and the potential that it has, then I'd probably be buying all the way up to $10 here. Like, to me, you think about it from where you're going to be in 5-10 years down the road. Don't chase pennies and miss the dollars is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So that's that.
Sorry. I didn't want to cut you off.
No,
I also, what I wanted to say is like, again, from own experience, like my portfolio owning stocks is up like since 2022. I have to look at the exact numbers, but I started at $120,000 and today it's worth somewhere around 450, like the portfolio. And if I would have done wheeling, which sounds sexy, I would not be at this. Like if you buy individual stocks and you're correct on your estimation, or like you're correct in your analysis, you will make way more money than you would do with options. The reason to do options, I think, is if you need a cash flow. For example, this portfolio that I have is together with my dad, and he's soon retiring, and then he will need a cash flow to supplement his pension. And in that case, I think it's okay that we do options. But if we didn't have the need to have a cash flow, I think your returns will be higher on just buying the stocks outright. And because think about it, essentially what you're doing with a put option is that you're becoming a backstop for the stock to fall. So meaning that you instead of being able to buy super cheap, you buy at what happened to me? Like the stock fell to $3 and I was forced to buy at $5, right? So I didn't win. Like I wasn't able to buy as cheap as I could have. And this is not even the worst. The worst is like when you sell call options, you limit your win, right? So like maybe the stock would fly to $15 and you have to sell at $6. And yes, you made money, you made cash flow, but you got the crumbs and you missed the bread.
Yep. I mean, it's not to say that don't do these things, right? It's
just
recognize the opportunity cost. They're truly
exactly
what the option is truly getting into. And I had this conversation with Vince about being like, you might think that, $4 is out of the realm of possibility, but there's always a black swan event somewhere that always shows up.
Yep.
And also just be careful. Like a lot of people will chase getting into cash secured puts because they say, ooh, I could guarantee, however much percentage points if I had to sell on X, Y, and Z stock. And then next thing you know, the whole market goes against you. You're like, oh, I don't even want to be buying these stocks anymore. And so recognize what you're selling or what you're getting yourself into. You're either going to have to flash crash and buy those things back at a higher price, which then means you lose money, or put those shares, and hopefully they're stocks that you actually want to own. And I know a lot of people, they'll, back in 2020, 2021, they were selling because of the juicy premiums. And then when it came down to brass tacks in 2022, they had to buy shit stocks at an 80% discount from where they sold their puts because they were chasing pennies and were forgetting about the dollars. So It's not to say don't do it. It's just, and it's easy for me to say from like a retrospective point of view, but it's something that I wish somebody had told me. Like, and you might be brushing it off, but I've made these mistakes where you're down 20 or 30 grand, right?
Same.
And I've done the same on the opposite side, where I've been like selling a put and been like, prime example of like something that I was like 50-50 on. CrowdStrike during this whole like finanza that they had like 2 or 3 months ago. I was like, I don't really want to own the stock. I was like, but if it gets down to a certain price, it's almost like it needs to be bought, right? So a prime example is CrowdStrike in that respect. And in that respect, I'm okay not owning the shares because I'm kind of 50-50. I'm like, I don't want to own it at $300, but if it gets to 250, I'm buying it. And then same thing with like a few other companies out there, like Google, for example. This is a prime example. If I didn't have any Google shares right now, I'd be buying Google shares, even at 150, 160. But I have Google's in my top 4 or 5 positions in my portfolio on a single stock basis. So I'm not running out and buying Google at 150, 160 bucks. Where I am putting puts to buy Google is at 125. And so I sold those. Now I'm up on that position and I'm like, do I close it? Do I roll it to 130? And I might still, come Monday, I might do that. But at the same time, like you have to ask yourself, like, for example, on Rocket Lab, am I buying at the $7 range, $7.50 range? I probably should be, to be very honest with you. But to me, it just doesn't make sense. I have 19,500 shares already. It's almost 100 grand worth invested. It's like, do I really want to be investing more than 100? Probably not. So I'd like to buy it closer to $5. And will I be kicking myself in the ass 10 years from now? 100% I will be. But I'm making that decision today. I'm not comfortable losing more than 100 grand. It's currently my largest invested single stock position that I've ever had, close to $100,000. And I'm like, sometimes you have to be cautious for a reason. Now, if it was in the case where it was cash flow positive and, stuff like that, I'd maybe be a little bit more willing to kind of move that way. But you just have to think. But if I didn't have any Rocket Lab shares right now, I'd be buying stock. I wouldn't be selling puts, right? So you kind of have to recognize it's like I'm selling puts on Rocket Lab because I don't want to buy it really above $6. But if I didn't have any shares, I'd be buying because I still want to have exposure to the upside, if that makes sense.
One really good example of this, which is a comical example, is Everything Money. I don't know if you know that YouTube channel. The guy was like ragging on Palantir, and he was saying that all the people who invest in Palantir, they're idiots. And then when the price was down at $6, he said that, okay, like I know he's been saying a lot of shit about people who invest in Palantir, but it's actually like a very good company, and it's the price that he has been like upset on. And then he sold puts on 550, and he earned probably, I don't know, 5% on the money that he sold the puts on. And it was the very bottom of the stock. And he sold the puts and the stock skyrocketed, right? And he wanted to buy the stock, but he wanted it to go below, and then he gets put the stocks, right? He didn't buy them outright. Now that guy missed out on, I mean, what is the stock up from $6? Like 5x, 6x in 2 years. And that's the opportunity cost that you're running. So for me, it's really like, if you want cash flow, like you need the cash flow from your investments, I think it's good to do options. If you don't need the cash flow, you will do better just studying the companies and buying what you're bullish on. And if you do options, then be willing to, like, it needs to be a win-win. Like you need to do it in a way that if I get put the shares, I don't care because I would have bought anyways, and I'm very happy to own the company. And if I don't get put the shares, I don't care because, then you win the premium. That's my.
Yep. Yeah. Anyway, I appreciate everybody. Fool's Gold, yes, Dimitri, everybody. that contributed, man. It's insane. We got Bunker Buster, came a new member. Fool's Gold, absolutely killing it. Who else? Sam donated. Francisco donated. Jeff Presley, AI Money. Man, just a lot of good folks. Scott as well. Steve, all of you guys, just really appreciate you. You know, it's not necessary, but it is appreciated. It goes right back into the portfolio. So, Vince, anything to say before we sign off?
In the same, I also really appreciate you guys, and it's a fantastic community. And I wish there was more launches. This quarter was not so hot on launches. So
yeah,
Q4 maybe we get 6 or 7.
Hopefully, that's the hope.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
a lot. Hopefully, a lot.
Yeah.
What the fuck? I thought we did. I not call out Hot Curtis? I thought I called out Hot Curtis. No.
I don't know. Now that you say it, maybe you didn't. But yeah.
Yeah,
he's one of the most important, if not the most
Yes,
important.
I thought I did. I thought Full Gold, Curtis, all them. But sorry if I didn't. I thought I did. Yeah, good. You guys rock. Be sure to watch Rocket Lab Weekly. I'm sure Vince has a lot cooler things than me talking for 2 hours straight. But successful launch. That's all that mattered to me. Let's look forward to number 54. Cool.
Awesome,
Thank
guys.
you guys.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Ciao.